It's a balmy night here in Daytona Beach, Florida, as Daytona International Speedway plays host under the lights here this evening to the 7th race of the 3rd season of the UpperEdge Racing Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. Good evening, everybody. I'm Seth Cole as we begin the second half of the season. It's the home stretch now towards that championship trophy, waiting for one lucky driver at iRacing Superspeedway, and it is going to be the third time in the the fourth time in the last 5 weeks these drivers will be here at Daytona, twice at the current version and twice at the Legacy 2008 version. Here tonight, though, smooth racetrack, high speeds, should be a good one as we prepare for 58 circuits at this historical 2.5-mile super speedway. It's interesting because the only thing that's predictable about a super speedway series is its unpredictability. Rewind back to 3 weeks ago, the main focus point of conversation was Bronson Stafford. A lot of questions of, can his momentum be stopped? Can anybody cut into his points lead? The only driver at that point that had multiple trips to victory lane here in Season 3. Fast forward to tonight, now the main focus is shifted from the 61 to his teammate out of Sky Motorsports, the 10 of Robert Kenny. Back-to-back victories, only 78 points separation between him and Bronson Stafford, who still has the points lead, but that's 78 points here tonight with 13 drivers scheduled to take the green flag. Could be evaporated depending on what happens in this evening's event. A lot of drivers in the field here this evening, a couple returning from seasons past. Some other drivers actually going to be making their debut here this evening. We'll document all that here in just a moment. As congratulations to Justin Durand, as he is going to capture the first pole of his Baadteshop Superspeedway Series career. It's a matter of fact, an all Durand front row, as David Durant is going to be joining him on the outside of row number 1, the former champion from season 1. So first time that we've had a Durant front row, and first time that Justin will have the privilege of leading these drivers to the green. Bronson Stafford going to be rolling off from third. Joey Chapman and Mike Tellier are scheduled to be the top 5. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for this evening's event. The Thompson Cat 145 at Daytona. Gave you your top 5 as we look further back here in the field. Matthew Rodriguez still looking for his first victory of the year on the outside of row number 3. Connor Holden making his first start of his career here tonight in the 81. And is it not on your telemetry here for the starting lineup is Robert Kenny in 11th, the last driver to take time, but Ryan Hescard, who back in the season opener of Season 2 here at Daytona took his only checkered flag of the Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. He will be on the outside of row number 6, and then Bill Edwards and Jason Shuey will be in the 7th and final row here tonight. Drivers were here at the current version of Daytona, was back in the early portion of March. Ryan Potter went to victory lane in that event. He is not in the field here again tonight. His no-show last week dropped him from 2nd to 5th in point standings, and he will undoubtedly continue the free fall, not making a start here this evening. So Stafford, as mentioned, is the points that are coming to this race. 78 points between himself and Robert Kenny. If I recall correctly, the most points that a driver can gain in a single race, including bonus points, is 97 points. So that 78 points is within the points range, where if Robert Kenny can win here again tonight and Bronson Stafford runs into a problem and finishes towards the tail end of the field, Kenny could be our new points leader heading into iRacing Superspeedway in a couple weeks' time. We'll get to that in just a few moments. Mike Tellier is currently 3rd in the points, 112 points out. Michael Norman, who is not in the field here tonight, he will also more than likely drop out of the top 5 in the point standings. He was 117 coming in. Mentioned about Ryan Potter not in the field tonight. He was 5th in points, 168 points out. 1 point over Justin Durand, your pole sitter. So Durand, even with the bonus points of capturing the pole position here tonight, will be up inside of the top 5 undoubtedly in the standings heading into our next event. He was 6th in points coming into tonight, 169 points out. And then Ty Smith was 7th in the standings, 207 points back from the points leader. Bill Edwards, Joey Chapman, and Dylan Body, top 10 in points, 223 points, separating the top 10 in the overall standings coming into this evening. Let's take a look here at our nighttime weather at Daytona. Not much difference between our ambient temperature and our track temperature. Track temperature might go up a tick or two every time these drivers turn a circuit, the more they lay tire rubber down and tire heat into the racetrack. But it's time to get racing here in the Thompson Cat 145. Justin Durand leads us to the green, and we're already jostling for lanes and positions as Joey Chapman, top to bottom on David Durand in that third position, going to help push the 29 out in front through 1 and 2. Top side, David Durand, Matthew Rodriguez in the 57, as most drivers going to migrate down to the inside line. Few drivers dipping below the double yellow line, which is considered inbounds, but looks like that's going to be an exit venue for Mike Tellier in the 97. He'll give up some spots going down there and slot back around the 10th position after starting this race in 5th. Lap number 1 going to be led by the pole sitter, Justin Durand. Joey Chapman crosses in 2nd, Bronson Stafford in the 3rd position. He'll have David Durand to his outside in that battle for 3rd place. Connor Holden offering the drafting help to the 61. Matthew Rodriguez up top side, trying to push the 24 further up to the front. Dylan Body has also moved up to the 2nd lane along with Sebastian Miller in the 63. Last week we saw not many drivers take the green flag and a bit of a disadvantage. Oh, contact! Joey Chapman and David Durand there into turn 3, but a disadvantage for the Monster Brigade, if you will. Well, here tonight, they've got at least 4 drivers in the field to be able to work together. Holden in the 81, Body in the 6, Ty Smith in the 16, and Sebastian Miller in the 63. We've also got another interesting alliance here this evening that I'm going to be talking about in a few moments. As Joey Chapman, with that contact with David Durand over in turn 3, muscled his way to the lead. Bronson Stafford followed him into 2nd, and now Justin Durand will fall back into the 3rd position. First time tonight that we've actually seen the apron get utilized on the back straightaway below that double yellow line. We really have not seen that utilized hardly at all in the past races here the last 4 or 5 weeks when we've come to Daytona, whether it be the legacy version or this current version. Just basically drivers saying it doesn't gain you a whole lot unless you can complete the pass. By the time you get to turn 3, you're kind of in no man's land down on that apron. Battle on the top side. Here comes the Monster Brigade. It's Connor Holden as there's contact between himself and Joey Chapman, and now there's going to be a big wreck. Chapman, Connor Holden involved, Ty Smith in the 16, Rodriguez I see there as well in the 57. Jason Shuey comes to a stop, and there were others that got bits and pieces of that wreck. And I'm not certain, we're going to have to go back and look at the replay, but I think that might have been a little bit of an unnecessary door bang by Chapman to Holden going into that corner. I don't know if maybe he got a bad bump or if that was just an attempt at side draft, but that's what certainly I think led to the contact and led to that wreck being triggered. And we've got a whole bunch of torn up race cars here already in the early going. Ryan Hesgard and the 2 might have been involved. I know the 16 of Ty Smith, he was involved. There you see damage, especially to the right front on his Toyota Camry. Let's go back to turn 1, see what exactly happened. Want to focus on the 60, but I want to also watch the 61 of Bronson Stafford behind. See if there was a bump just prior to Chapman making that move up into the driver's side door of Connor Holden. Well, it doesn't appear to be. We'll take another angle there, but I think what happened when the 60 made the contact with the 81, it slowed Connor Holden's speed And then Ty Smith didn't have time to react, and he was into the back of Holden's Toyota. We'll get another angle here of the field filing into turn number 1, and at this point in time, for those wondering, nobody has taken on a faster pair as of yet. Everyone that's come down pit road is doing manual repair at this point in time, just feeling it's way too early to take that faster pair on. 16 was second car in line on that outside line and just darted down to the left. Let's see if an aerial view would give us an idea. Maybe the 16 checked up and maybe he got a bump from behind, which sent him down into Chapman and company. And then we're going to take an onboard with Bronson Stafford, who did a heck of a job getting through that wreck. We're going to try and see if we can get a good camera angle here. Unfortunately, it would appear that the high-rise grandstands here in the front straightaway block one of our aerial views. Dylan Body got into the 16. I still think that the contact between the 60 and the 81 kind of caused the whole stack up, but definitely some contact further behind those guys led to that wreck as well. Taking on board with the defending champ, Bronson Stafford, was running second in line on the inside. Watch this as he's able to maneuver his way through. There's the contact. Well, it's like he saw that coming. Immediately went down to the apron and able to drive away from the incident. Great piece of driving there by Bronson Stafford, showing why he is a champion in the series. You got to get wins, you got to be consistent, but you have to be aware of what's going on around you as well, and Stafford obviously doing that there. He came down pit road, though, as did just about everybody else, with the exception of one driver. That's the 97 of Mike Tellier, who decides to take track position over fuel. And right now looks like he would be the one to lead us back to green, unless he's just staying out to lead a lap and might be coming down pit road this time. Is he faking it? No, he is not. He's going to come down pit road this time and turn the race lead over to David Durand. So I mentioned that there's another group out there, if you will, besides the Monster Brigade, and Mike Tellier would be one of the drivers of said group. We've seen in the last couple of weeks, Robert Kenny has been able to change his luck, running a different scheme from the Danica Patrick throwback that he had in the first 4 or 5 races of the season. He's now driving the Stuka airplane livery on his number 10, the dive bomber paint scheme. And now, as you saw the new livery on the 97, we have ourselves what I'm going to call them the Stuka Squadron with those two drivers. I understand that Matthew Rodriguez also has a Stuka livery for his 57, was going to run that here tonight as well, but had some trading paint issues, so he is running the familiar dark blue Baadteshop scheme here this evening, but we may end up seeing that Stuka livery in a couple weeks' time at iRacing Superspeedway, but we've got ourselves the Stuka Squadron here now in the Baadteshop Superspeedway series with Kenny and Tellier. So we'll see if the dive bombers can work together. Mentioned this before, don't really hear the word dive bomb at a super speedway, but nonetheless, dive bomber planes in the field here this evening. David Durand chooses the inside line with the choose cone. Robert Kenny will be to his outside in second. Justin Durand lines up in third. Ryan Hesgard to the top side in fourth. Ty Smith will be fifth with Bronson Stafford in sixth. Matthew Rodriguez, Sebastian Miller, Connor Holden, Jason Shuey going to be the top 10. Only one driver took on his faster pair under that wreck. Actually, correction, 2 drivers, Ty Smith and Connor Holden. They're going to have to basically try and survive for these final 51 laps at Daytona as the Durands timing that restart to perfection. David will lead Justin into turns 1 and 2. Kenny will slot back into third. Hesgard and Ty Smith trying to figure it out for fourth. Looks like Smith will prevail out of turn number 2. A lot of damage on the 6 of Dylan Body, who was right in the middle of that big wreck over into turn 1. You can see the front end all crunched in. especially around that left front panel. So obviously that car not aerodynamically sound. Did not take on his faster pair, repaired it as best he possibly could. Now he is hoping that there's going to either be more carnage and more drivers in the same predicament he's already in, or certainly hoping that a caution comes out before he would get lapped under green flag conditions. Six races into the season, not counting tonight, and believe it or not, this is only the second time that the drivers have taken to the current version of Daytona. The previous winner, as mentioned, Ryan Potter. They've been to the legacy version of Daytona twice now, Talladega twice, and they will be making their second iRacing Superspeedway start of the year in 2 weeks' time on April 17th. Next week, these drivers will be off for Easter weekend. Hopefully everybody has a very happy Easter with friends and family, and then they'll be right back at it at iRacing Superspeedway in 2 weeks' time. So not only going to get a little bit of a break from Superspeedway racing, but getting a break from Daytona as well. You'd have to think that these drivers very familiar with this Superspeedway, having run it in different version capacities, but now 4 times in the last 5 weeks. And they're not done with Daytona either. We're going to be back at the legacy version of Daytona on May the 1st, and then the following week, May the 8th, they'll be back here at the current version of Daytona before finishing out the season at Talladega, and the place that started it all here this year, iRacing Superspeedway on May 22nd. Well, David Durand, it's been a long time since we've mentioned his name in victory lane. Last time was the season finale, Season 1, where he went on to win the championship. It's been a long winless streak for the former champ, the inaugural champ of the series. Nice to see him out in front, and obviously the Durands came into this race awfully hungry. They got the front row just in his first career pole, and you got to think for David Durand, he's got to be looking back at the stats, realizing that it's been a long time since he's been to victory lane. A driver who was dominant back in Season 1, and he wants to get back to victory circle. Maybe tonight is the night. I'd have to look back, but I'm pretty certain that one of his victories that year in the championship season was here at the current version of Daytona. I'll double check on that, but pretty fairly certain that he had a victory at this racetrack. Robert Kenny on the outside trying to side draft as best he can on Ty Smith in the 16, but he's got no help up there. Mike Tellier quite a ways back. Matthew Rodriguez, I believe right now, is the highest running of the Sky Motorsports cars behind Kenny, and he's back in the 8th spot. Now there's some help coming on that top side. It's Ryan Hesgard in the 2, Matthew Rodriguez in the 57, as they've already caught the 6 of Dylan Body. So that car is not only damaged, that car is majorly off the pace, because it only took them about 7 laps to come around and put that 6 car -1. It's always a catch-22 when you're involved in an early wreck at a super speedway race and you've got that faster pair, and whether to use it or not. In the case of Connor Holden and Ty Smith, they used it. They are behind the 8 ball, but they are running up to speed at least as well in the 5th and 6th positions. Dylan Body's choice of not taking on the faster pair currently has him trapped a lap down to the race leaders. He's the only driver 1 lap down, so he would get the lucky dog should we get a caution, provided he is not collected up in the yellow flag. Outside line, Toyota and Chevrolet working against a couple of Camaros on the inside line. Robert Kenny and Ryan Hesgard trying to work together. Robert Kenny, if I'm not mistaken, I believe is a former winner at Daytona. Let me double check on that. So that would be 2 former Daytona winners working together, and no, that is not correct. Robert Kenny has wins at Talladega and iRacing Superspeedway, but he's actually never won at Daytona in this series. So it could be a first. I should say the current version of Daytona. Last week you wanted the legacy version of Daytona. So let's be clear about that. He's lost Ryan Hesgaard, though, as Hesgaard's going to tuck down in front of Bill Edwards. I was wondering when those two would hook up, because for those that may not remember, when Hesgaard took his only checkered flag in this series here at Daytona back in the Season 2 season opener, it was Bill Edwards who pushed him to said checkered flag. Now, you've got those two Chevrolets lined up nose to tail on the outside line. They've picked up Robert Kenny as well. The Durands look to drivers right, and they've got a challenge for the race lead. Hesgaard's going to lead that lap. Yes, he is. Barely led that lap. Photo finish at the line, but still has the advantage, has the numbers up there as well. Robert Kenny has picked up Mike Tellier and Bronson Stafford. You got to wonder if they get enough momentum. Would Kenny make it 3 wide and bring his teammates along with him? 3 wide at Daytona. It can work, but it's not nearly as spacious a racetrack as Talladega or iRacing Superspeedway. A little bit more narrow of a Superspeedway is Daytona, especially when you come around to the front straightaway in the tri-oval. And I mentioned about the 3 wide. Bronson Stafford must have heard me. He's peeking up there to the outside of Robert Kenny. Kenny sees that. He's going to jump up there as well. Here we go into the tightest part of this Superspeedway. 3 wide, 2 rows deep. Make it 3 rows deep now. They're all going to make it through, and we are going to be 3 wide for first back to 6th going into turn number 1. Top line prevailing for the moment. Robert Kenny edges ahead. Durant back towards the lead off of turn number 2. But now, numbers game up in the 3rd lane. Kenny to the point. Stafford into 2nd. Sebastian Miller trying to clear for 3rd. But now the Toyotas will ditch the top side, drop to the bottom. And Sebastian Miller, just like that, has no friends up in outside line number 3. Power move there by Robert Kenny and Bronson Stafford, showing the 3rd lane is a viable option. If you've got the momentum, got the speed, and got the friends, now they're going to bottom feed to that double yellow line, dropping David Durand back to 3rd. 4th place to Justin, and Ryan Hesgaard might drop outside of the top 5, as Matthew Rodriguez will tiptoe his way on by and slot into the top 5. Big run there by Mike Tellier. The 97 jumping up to try and pick up Ryan Hesgaard. Moves down to side draft teammate Matthew Rodriguez. Might actually tuck back in line behind the 57. Appears that he has done so. Nope, instead, back up the outside line again with Hesgaard, along with Bill Edwards and Sebastian Miller, trying to get a 2nd lane going once again. Robert Kenny going to come around and lead this lap. Robert Kenny has now led at least 1 lap in the last 3 races. And the last 2 races, he's led that all-important final lap. He and Bronson Stafford, 1st and 2nd, the only 2 drivers this season that have gone to victory lane twice. Mike Tellier, Ryan Potter have gone to victory lane once. Everybody else is still looking for the first win of the season here in the Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. Robert Kenny saw that run coming on the top side. Shifted from the bottom to the top with the 97. Picking up fellow Stuka squadron mate Mike Tellier. Oh, they might have moved up a little too much, though. That opened up the middle line, and Ryan Hesgaard says thank you very much. Bill Edwards trying to stay in touch with them, but there's a bit of space between those two. So Hesgaard might not have the momentum he wanted. Matthew Rodriguez getting out of Dodge, or is he? Well, he moved to the apron. I thought he might be trying to fall to the back, seeing what was going on ahead, but instead he slots back in front of Joey Chapman as Robert Kenny bows out of the situation along with Mike Tellier. It's now Hesgaard on the top and Bronson Stafford on the bottom. And now Ryan Hesgaard going to lead that lap with a big push from Bill Edwards. Well, it's interesting if you look at the two drivers that have really been the focus point of the last few weeks, Bronson Stafford and Robert Kenny, and how so far this season their races have somewhat mirrored each other in the terms that they've both been to victory lane twice. They're battling for that points lead. But Robert Kenny is the only driver to have ever won back-to-back races so far here in this series, and it's 2.5 seasons of running. Bronson Stafford is the only driver in the history of the series to have a checkered flag at every version of Superspeedway we have run. That's iRacing Superspeedway Talladega, and both versions, Legacy and Current, Daytona. Robert Kenny, should he take a checkered flag here tonight, would also be a driver that could boast that accolade. Look at that top side there. Look at that three-car tandem. Stafford, Kenny, and Tellier. Commanding lead out in front now. It's about 3 car lengths back to Ryan Hesgard, who has his hands full with David Durand on the top side. David's got Justin. Bill Edwards got separated from Ryan Hesgard. Matthew Rodriguez there as well, as now Bronson Stafford left out to dry. Robert Kenny around the top side with Mike Tellier, and those two will move to first and second. Now we're starting to see the tandem come into play a little bit more here, entering into the second third of this race. Justin Durand with a big push to Ryan Hesgard, propelling the two at least up to second, maybe to the race lead. Bronson Stafford, big run. He's going to search third lane. Would Justin Durand, the 29, go with him, or will he stick him by himself on that outside line? He's going to stay to the middle. Stafford trying to side draft the 24, but no help up there in the third lane right now. Whoa, David Durand. Big move there, just in front of Bronson Stafford and to the outside of Ryan Hesgard. Bold move that might pay off here through 1 and 2. We'll see. Just kind of feel like this is the proverbial calm before the storm, although the racing right now is anything but calm. Only one caution so far here tonight as we are nearing the halfway point in this race in the next 5 laps or so. Right now, 13 of the 14 drivers on the lead lap. Dylan Body is the only car right now scored a lap down, so he would be in the free pass position. My goodness, look at this. David Durand, top side. Oh, is he clear? Oh, he was not clear. I thought we were going to have ourselves a wreck there in 1 and 2. I thought the 24 was going to get hooked by the 2. He was definitely not clear. Tried coming down. Fortunately, shot back up to the outside line. So we avoided one there. Robert Kenny. Wish we had a heart monitor on the 10 because I think he backed out after having a near mini heart attack with what just took place. Him on the inside of that 3-wide situation at the time. So he bows out of the situation, and these drivers will get themselves from 3-wide back to double-wide formation, about 3 rows back, second place, back to around 6. David Durand in control now of the race lead. Top side trying to mount a charge there through 1 and 2, but not quite going to get to the right rear quarter panel of the Valvoline Camaro. I mentioned that David Durand running that winless streak all the way back to the season finale of Season 1. To give an idea chronologically of just how long that has been, that was October 24th of last year. So we're talking, what, almost a good half year since he's gone to victory lane, almost a good 6 months. So he is obviously hungry. Ooh, big bump there from Ryan Hesgard. Ryan Hesgard making his first start of the season. Mentioned a former winner in this series, and it was Bill Edwards who pushed him to that victory. Now, Bill Edwards is running full time in the series this year. Edwards coming into this race 8th in the point standings, had a great run last week, jumped up 3 spots into the top 10 in points. He's 214 points back, but still lots of season left to race. You have to wonder if Ryan Hesgard remembers back to last year's season opener, Bill Edwards pushing him to that victory, and with Bill running full time, trying to run for that championship, if the shoe might be on the other foot here tonight, if there's an opportunity for Ryan Hesgard to help push Bill Edwards to his first victory of his Baadteshop Superspeedway Series career, would he do it? We'll talk about strange bedfellows here. A Chevrolet being pushed by a Toyota, and then a Toyota being pushed by a Chevrolet. That now swaps over with Tellier and Justin Durand moving to the front. David Durand tried to get up there with him, but he lost touch and now is under fire from Bronson Stafford and Matthew Rodriguez. Rodriguez is another driver, former winner in the series, that it's been a while since he's gone to victory lane. His last win was back in Season 1 as well. And that was at iRacing Superspeedway. He's got a longer winless streak than David Durant. His goes back to October 10th of 2021. That was a multi-win season for Matthew Rodriguez at that time. He, of course, was in the hunt for the championship. And while he doesn't have a race win since that race at iRacing Superspeedway back in Season 1, he does have a Dash for Cash victory, which was in the first of the 2 Dega Duel races last year, the midway point of last year's schedule. Right now he runs in the 4th position behind Bronson Stafford as Justin Durand continues to show the way. This has been, without a doubt, a career year for Justin Durand. There's still a long season left to run. As mentioned, the checkered flag last week at Legacy Daytona only marked the halfway point of the season, including tonight 6 more races until we crown a champion. So there's still a lot more laps, a lot more races to be run, and a lot more points positions to shuffle back and forth before all is said and done. But Justin coming into this race, currently 6th in points. That will change after tonight. He will at least pass Ryan Potter, if not Michael Norman, in the standings, and be up inside the top 5 in overall points. You look at his finishes as well. No finishes outside of the top 10 in the 6 starts that he's made. His best finish last week, 4th place at Legacy Daytona. He has also, here tonight, led the most laps of his career. As a matter of fact, here tonight, he has led more laps in this evening's event than he has run the entire season combined. He had 7 total laps led coming into tonight. Started on the pole, has fought his way back up to the front after losing the race lead, trying to do something that is not all that easy at a superspeedway, and that is coast-to-coast running here as we've got drivers heading for pit lane. The long green flag run. Oh, Bronson Stafford locks him up, trying to save it. Nice job there as that car was almost completely sideways. It's all the Toyotas coming down this time. Tellier, Chapman, Rodriguez, Stafford, Kenny. They've also brought down Ty Smith, Dylan Boddy, and Connor Holden with them. So pretty much aside from Sebastian Miller in the 63, every single Camry in the field came down pit road that time. Now, Sebastian Miller will be more than likely leading the Chevy Brigade down pit road this time by. Or maybe not. They'll stay out an extra lap. So green flag pit stops there. And that was 27 laps into the run. So they basically split this segment in half, did the drivers in the Toyota Camrys. And that says to me that they either are A, of the assumption this thing could go green to the end and they'd be good to make it from this point on fuel, or B, as Connor Holden coming off pit road having to yield to the leaders. Or B, they believe that they can just come down pit road, have enough numbers to stay on the lead lap should we get a caution, and then they could cycle around with track position and control the remainder of this race when these drivers in this lead pack would have to come to pit lane. Dylan Body, I believe in the 6, took on his faster pair. Yes, he did. We saw him running with that damage most of this race. Also, point of note, Joey Chapman in the 60 car took on his faster pair under this yellow. Or not this yellow, but under this round of green flag pit stops. Single filed out. This says to me these guys might be waving the hands out the window to pit this time. Get themselves as organized as possible. Well, a couple are coming down. Bill Edwards, Jason Shuey, Ryan Hesgard. So half of the Chevrolet is going to come down this lap. And that will leave 3 drivers that we are waiting on. Sebastian Miller, David Durand, Justin Durand. Gotta wonder what the situation is there for Sebastian Miller. One would have thought that he would have come down pit road with his teammates, but he's playing an alternate strategy. Connor Holden was able to latch onto this lead group, so that's going to help him. Even though right now he is running the first car 1 lap down. You see him jump into the top side. That says to me 63, 24, 29. They're coming down this time by. So about 28 to 29 laps, these guys were able to make it on what they had in the tank. So everybody should be able to make it the rest of the way. Oh, hit the commitment cone. Did Sebastian Miller, locking up that right front tire. Could not get it wound down and turned far enough left. We'll see if that's going to be a commitment cone violation for the 63, who now overshoots his pit box, and the caution is out. It's Joey Chapman in the 60 bringing out the yellow. Caution's going to fly right in the middle of green flag pit stops. That could be a huge break for Sebastian Miller. And I'm not certain who Chapman got into, but remember, you see that damage on the back end of the 60. He had taken on his faster pair under that yellow flag, so he now, whatever damage he sustains from this point on, is just going to have to deal with it and try and get it manually repaired. It's also going to throw a monkey wrench into us knowing who was indeed on the lead lap, who was a lap down at the timing of this yellow flag. We'll go back and see what brings out the second caution of the night. Chapman was leading this group of Toyotas. I can tell you're a little unsteady there, and is he going to bump him in the left rear? Oh, just the least little bit. Overcorrects into the wall does Joey Chapman. Bronson Stafford got into the outside wall, and Robert Kenny also got a piece of the action. So quite a number of drivers involved in that one. Let's go back and see if there was a little gap whack involved. It certainly looked like Tellier was getting pretty close to that left rear quarter panel. I don't know if he got him loose or if there was indeed contact between the two. Let's see if this gives us an idea. Yeah, still kind of hard to tell. There you see Stafford pancake the right side. Robert Kenny nowhere to be able to go. The only driver in that group of 5 that didn't make any contact was Matthew Rodriguez. Let's see if our aerial view will give us an idea of whether there was contact or not. Yeah, slight contact there. Gets Chapman loose. He's trying to save it. Overcorrects it right back in front of that group he was running with. And I'm not certain just how heavy the impact was there for Joey Chapman. We're going to take it on board with Robert Kenny, who just had absolutely nowhere to be able to go in that situation. He was running the last car of that group of 5. It's Matthew Rodriguez just ahead of him. Boy, you can even see there sitting in the driver's seat. You just don't even really know that the wreck's taking place until all of a sudden the 60 is 90 degrees facing the wrong way right in front of you and the seas part. Saw that there was really nothing to indicate a wreck in front of the 57's back bumper. So Robert Kenny, Bronson Stafford, Joey Chapman, they're going to have some decisions to make here. Actually, not much of a decision for Joey Chapman since he had already used his fast repair, but for Bronson Stafford and Robert Kenny, looks like Stafford, manual repairs for him. Same for the 10 of Robert Kenny. The Durand's going to come down pit road this time. Looks like they may be topping off the fuel tank. Matthew Rodriguez, Jason Shuey, and Connor Holden all going to do the same. And I believe at the time of that yellow flag, everyone but the 6 of Dylan Body were scored on the lead lap. And so therefore that means that Dylan Body gets the free pass. And all 14 drivers will be on the lead lap when we go back green, which should be a little less than 20 laps to go. Sebastian Miller dropping back there to 3rd place. Saw Ryan Hesgard and Bill Edwards boogieing around to get to 1st and 2nd and catch up to the pace cars. So certainly when there's a caution that comes out in the middle of pit stops, it might take a little bit of time to get everybody organized back up to where they're supposed to be. But right now it looks like indeed all 14 drivers will be on the lead lap when we go back green flag racing. Mike Tellier taking the responsibility for that incident. You know, he's been doing it every week, hasn't really gotten a shout out. Give a shout out here tonight to race control for the series, Jaden Darling, making the calls up there in the grandstands of driver responsible, keeping an eye to make sure that drivers don't hit the choose cone there at the start finish line of the front straightaway. And also here tonight, race control in training. And that would be Blaney here tonight. So both of them making sure that this race runs smoothly. They got their hands full right now, it looks like, because I think there's a lot of disagreement, a lot of confusion of who's supposed to be running where. Where even is the pace car? That's the question I've got. Might be waiting on the pace car now. A little confusion going on here. Miller going around Hesgard to take the race lead back, so we'll wait till everything gets sorted out. And then we will let you know what the lineup is. Double check and make sure that nobody else outside of the 4 that had been previously mentioned had taken on fast repairs, and indeed, nobody did from that most recent yellow flag. We're working our second caution of the night. First caution coming out for an incident over in turn 1, about 5 laps into this race. Sent several drivers to an early fast repair. And then our most recent caution right in the middle of green flag pit stops here tonight. And leading us to this rather bizarre situation. Some drivers that are parked on the front straightaway. There's the pace truck with Robert Kenny. It looks like those 4 up ahead need to wait with the rest of the field behind that Chevy Silverado to be able to catch back up. And it looks like as a result, those drivers are all going to be dropping to the tail end of the field. All right, so let's see if the lights go out atop the pace car this time, which they will. And now I'm wondering what's going to be going on as far as like choose cones and whatnot. Now Sebastian Miller is moving back up in front. So I'm not sure what's going on right now. All I know is that the lights are out atop the pace truck. We are going to get ready to go back green. Might be a little bit of a messy restart here, but nonetheless, as they run right now, Sebastian Miller the leader. Now Ty Smith's going to move up to the outside in second. Ryan Hesgard is scored third. Bill Edwards fourth. Bronson Stafford fifth. Robert Kenny sixth. Joey Chapman seventh. Eighth, Justin Durand. Ninth, Jason Shuey. David Durant in 10th. And then Connor Holden, Matthew Rodriguez, Mike Teller, and Dylan Body. That is the 14 drivers that started this race that are still running, still all on the lead lap. Now the outside line swaps around again. Stafford and Chapman going to move up to second and fourth for this restart. I'm all confused. All will be made clear once we go back green. That's all I know. And when we do go back green, there will be 18 laps to go. Just again, a reminder for everybody that next week we are off. I wish everybody a happy Easter. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks' time. And these drivers will, for the second time this season, be heading to the wide and high-banked iRacing Superspeedway. The second of 3 trips to that racetrack. It was our season opener. It will be our season closer with the championship on the line. Green flag back in the air, 18 to go. Sebastian Miller going to lead us back into turn number 1. Broke away big time from Ryan Hesgard in the 2. The Toyotas on the top side are nose to tail. Bronson Stafford, Joey Chapman, watch for this big run. Coming out of the second corner and onto the back straightaway, or maybe not. As Joey Chapman instead going to duck down to the bottom. Stafford's going to stay on the top side. Remember, Bronson Stafford is sporting some damage on the right side, maybe even on the right front, after he got up into the safer barrier. With the contact from Joey Chapman. Also, Robert Kenny back there in the 10. Back-to-back winner in the last 2 weeks. He's got some damage. You can clearly see that Toyota grill is somewhat askew. But neither one of them have used their fast repairs yet at this point in time. Still too many laps left to run here at Daytona. And now, after the field got somewhat spread out when we were in the middle of those green flag pit stops, now throw a blanket over the top 14 all over again. This could be the point of the race that really could be a turning point in terms of who's going to even make it to the checkered flag at the conclusion of this one. The bumps are going to be harder, the moves are going to be more frequent and more aggressive, and the blocking is certainly going to ramp up here as we tick closer to the end of this race. Justin Durand on the top side with David Durand trying to make something happen as Bronson Stafford leads Sebastian Miller on the inside line. Joey Chapman stuck in the sucker hole. Now he picks up Robert Kenny as a drafting partner in the middle. Bronson Stafford, Sebastian Miller, Ryan Hesgard, those 3 running nose to tail. No alliances, no teammates between those 2. Ryan Hesgard does have Bill Edwards with him, though. Now the top side gets a big run. Joey Chapman, who about 3 corners ago was fading towards the back with no help in the middle, after picking up Robert Kenny, he's now got a shot to maybe lead this lap from Bronson Stafford, and it looks like by half a car length, he will indeed edge ahead to the start-finish line and get that lap led in the 60. Race top 10 in points, 9th in the standings, looking for his first career victory. Boy, you saw Robert Kenny, and Justin Durand all run rather wide there out of turn number 2. I don't know if that was a reactionary block in case Durand wanted to try a third lane. The Toyotas get out clear to first and second. Ryan Hesgard might be clear for third. Indeed, he will be, as he'll jump up to the top side now, abandoning Bill Edwards. Kind of surprised that Hesgard didn't wait a little bit before Bill Edwards was clear to make that move, but it's going to work for him. He's going to side draft all the way up alongside Bronson Stafford for the race lead. A couple of former winners at this racetrack duking it out. For Bronson Stafford, it would be the third win of the season. For Ryan Hesgard, it would be his first of the season, second of his career. And Joey Chapman is going to be the deciding factor in the back straightaway battle. He will push Ryan Hesgard to the top spot. Hesgard tucks down in front of the Dollar General Toyota Camry. And right now, Ryan Hesgard, for those wondering about those 10 valuable bonus points for a driver improving their finishing position from their starting position, Hesgard, the race leader, would be in control of said bonus points. Started this race 12th, up 11 spots to the race lead at this point in time. Looks like at least at the moment, down the back straightaway, everybody is still in the lead draft. Saw Ty Smith kind of straddling a little further back, but I think he is still within striking range where he could draft back up to this group. Also saw Dylan Body and Mike Tellier back there. As things are getting tight up at the front. Hesgard now switches lanes with Bronson Stafford. Hesgard on the bottom and Stafford on the top. Too close to call that time by at the start-finish line as to who led that lap. But dead even going through 1 and 2 as we draw closer to 10 laps to go. Last time that these drivers were here at Daytona, when Ryan Potter took the checkered flag, the caution flew 4 times. We've run only half of those caution periods here tonight. But still a long ways to go here at Daytona. Plenty of opportunity for chaos to happen, and there it is. That was the 29 pole sitter Justin Durand. I believe he got some help from the 81 of Connor Holden. Caution's going to fly for the second, or make that the third time here tonight at Daytona, as Ryan Hesgard is going to lead us back to the caution. Bill Edwards second, and Sebastian Miller in third. Big hit there for the 29 of Justin Durand as he crab walks his way. Suspension majorly damaged down to his number 1 pit stall. That is undoubtedly going to be a fast repair for him. As there you see, that's the fast repair at work. Brand new race car, down the way he goes. And let's go back and see what happened to bring this yellow flag out. I'm wondering if there's something going on with the pace car. Because right there, right before we drop back to look at this replay, you saw that Ryan Hesgard was literally still racing back to the line and maybe pick up the pace truck. Of course, as well, it could have been the timing of that caution coming out. The field was fast approaching the start-finish line, so the race leader might have actually crossed the line before the yellow was officially thrown. Here's a brought out the yellow flag. Watch the 29 on the outside. Oh, bad bump. Bad bump from David Durand. Jason Shuey got a big hit as well in the 3 car. And Connor Holden, wrong place, wrong time in the 81. Justin was running 4th car in that outside line. Watch again and see exactly where the bump took place. Yeah, there it was. Boy, that was nose first, head on into that outside safer barrier, and then a shot to the back from the 3 of Jason Shuey. So we saw Justin Durand take on his fast repair. That's probably going to be a fast repair for the 3 car of Jason Shuey. Connor Holden, I believe, had already taken on his fast repair after the first yellow of the evening, so he doesn't have that mulligan to fall back on. Here's a look from the 3 of Jason Shuey, heading through 3 and 4. Watch the outside line there. Might see the errant bump from the 24 to the 29. Back up the track, and oh man, just shoots off of the outside wall and nowhere for Jason Shuey to go. This caution comes out with less than 10 to go. Sets us up for what should be a bit of a shootout here tonight at Daytona. And Ryan Hesgaard has caught the iRacing pace car. So again, I'm not really certain why they raced around to pick up the pace car. It looked like the caution had actually been thrown prior to Ryan getting back to the start-finish line, but if he had actually crossed the start-finish line before the caution was thrown, then they would have had to race back around another lap to pick up the safety car. So, might have been that kind of a case. Most of the field came down pit road. Some just to take on fuel. We had a few drivers actually come down and take on some fresh rubber. We'll see how that comes into play in the finish of this race. And we did have a few drivers come down and take on their faster pair as well. Justin Durand, we saw it happen live. Bronson Stafford, Robert Kenny, and Matthew Rodriguez. Correction, make that just Stafford and Kenny. They've taken on their faster pair as well. Interesting call on Jason Shuey. Saw that heavy impact with the front end of his car, but he did not take on his faster pair. Spent a good portion of time on pit road getting damage repaired manually. We'll see if that's going to be the right call. With the lights out atop the iRacing pace truck, we're going to go back green with 7 laps remaining. Obviously, that's plenty of time for another wreck to take place, so Jason Shuey could take his faster pair on then, but what if we don't end up having another caution prior to the white? Then he's running with a pretty badly mangled race car and could be throwing away an opportunity to finish up inside of the top 10, if not the top 5, depending on what happens on the final lap of this race. So the way they line up after choose coning at the start-finish line, Sebastian Miller will be on the inside of Ryan Hesgaard, who will be the control car and the race leader. So Miller would be scored second, Bill Edwards third, Dylan Body in fourth, David Durand fifth, Robert Kenny sixth, Justin Durand in seventh, Matthew Rodriguez eighth, ninth Bronson Stafford, and Mike Teller completes top 10. Joey Chapman, Ty Smith, Connor Holden, and Jason Shuey. That is the remaining drivers in the field. Jason Shuey, by the way, there at that 1 to green, came down and got a tiny bit more repairs done on that car. Returns back to the racetrack and trying now to catch up to the field before they go back green. Give a call there to Dylan Body, involved in the first caution of the evening. Didn't take on his faster pair, got put a lap down to green flag conditions. Got a very timely caution there in the little green flag pit stops as the only car 1 lap down. Got the lucky dog back on the lead lap up here inside of the top 5 for this upcoming restart. Still in search for his first career victory here in the Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. As green flag will come out, teammates kind of kitty corner to each other here, the Chevrolets and the Toyotas, as Ryan Hesgaard crosses from top to bottom across the nose of Sebastian Miller, and he will lead us back into turn 1. 7 laps remaining here tonight at Daytona International Speedway. And already some moves being made. Dylan Body on the outside line dropping to the back. Robert Kenny up the middle moving forward. Bill Edwards going to jump up there as well to pick up the 10 car. Let's see if Ryan Hesgaard moves up to the top line here, or does Bill Edwards have too big a run instead? Bill Edwards gets hooked by Robert Kenny. Matthew Rodriguez involved, a big wreck over in turn 3. Caution is going to fly for the 4th time here tonight. And that is a big-time hit for the 2-time winner, Robert Kenny, who, remember, had just taken on his faster pair under the last caution. And that might be his bid for 3 in a row up in smoke. Matthew Rodriguez had a pretty big hit there with the 57. And the car that got out of shape to start it all, Bill Edwards. Big time damage on his chrome number 50 Chevrolet. So caution comes out looks like we should have enough laps to go back green under regulation, but let's go back and take a look at what happened. Bill Edwards was trying to make a move for the race lead on the top side, and did he just get a bad bump by Robert Kenny? Let's take a look. Oh, yeah, just into that left rear quarter panel. Bronson Stafford saw the 50 jump up into the air. That was a shot from the 61, so top 2 in points. And the 2 multi-time winners on the season collected up, and both Stafford and Kenny had taken on their faster pair under the last caution. Here's another look. Mike Tellier got a piece of that one as well. Might have also been some contact for the 6 of Dylan Body. Hard to tell from that look. Get a couple more shots here. Already focused on the 57, the 50, the 61, the 10. We know that they were majorly involved, but what about the drivers minorly involved? Sebastian Miller with some contact there to the right side. And Dylan Body might have actually avoided. He was nearly Tokyo drifting on the apron, but I believe that there was some right side damage sustained by our pole sitter, the 29 of Justin Durand. All right, let's take some onboards here. Let's start with the 61 of Bronson Stafford. See just how much contact he really sustained there. Looks like he took a pretty good shot into the 50 of Bill Edwards. Oh, yeah, wow. Popped the 50 up into the air. That was pretty heavy contact, so Stafford could be in a bit of jeopardy here. He's on pit road right now getting repairs done. Here's the onboard with Robert Kenny in the 10 car. You saw him there going into turn 3 about a half groove lower than Bill Edwards. Normally, when you are the car that is pushing, you want to enter into the corner about a half groove higher, because if you enter lower than the car in front of you, especially with the setup of these race cars, we've documented how easy it is to get a run. You get such a tremendous run on that car in front of you, you are going to be into their left rear quarter panel. So if you're able to kind of straddle to their right rear going into either turn 1 or turn 3, you got a better chance of lining up the bumpers and not getting into them to hook them around by the time you get to the center of the corner or off of 2 and 4. Unfortunately, that was not the case there for Robert Kenny. Kenny's returned back to the racetrack. Bronson Stafford's returned back to the racetrack. They'll still remain on the lead lap. But both drivers spent about a minute and a half on pit road for repairs. So unless carnage takes place here in the final 3 laps of this race, they might finish outside of the top 10, which would make things very interesting as far as the points scenario heading into iRacing Superspeedway in a couple weeks' time. Ryan Hesgard could be the X factor in all of this, making only his first start on the season, looking for his second career checkered flag. David Durand in the 24 car. David comes into this race 13th in the points, only 1 top 5 on the year for the former champ. So it could be a huge points day for him. Sebastian Miller, also outside the top 10 in points coming to this one, 11th in the standings. He also only has 1 top 5 on the year. Mike Tellier right there in the 97. He'd love to join his teammates Robert Kenny and Bronson Stafford as a multi-time winner on the season. Tellier, a former winner at Talladega earlier on this year. Justin Durand, the pole sitter, still there in the 5th position. Bill Edwards going to restart in 6th. With Dylan Body, Jason Shuey, Joey Chapman, and Ty Smith. That's the top 10 as we get ready to go back green flag racing. Little housekeeping before we go back green. Jason Shuey took on his faster pair. Bill Edwards took on his faster pair, as did Matthew Rodriguez. Only 3 drivers in the field still have their faster pair intact, and that was your top 3 when they crossed the start-finish line. Hesgard, Durand, and Miller. Everybody else, their mulligan is out the window. For Ryan, David, and Sebastian, they're saying, please let us make it back to the white flag. Everybody else want those 3 to run into trouble to be back on equal footing. Looks like Robert Kenny and Bronson Stafford did not catch up to the field in time to receive the green flag. They are about 4.5 seconds back from the lead pack in 13th and 14th, with all 14 drivers on the lead lap. So unless some of these drivers run into trouble, those two drivers are in jeopardy of poor performances here tonight at Daytona. 2 laps to go. Potentially the final 5 miles here of the evening at Daytona, but if they don't make it back to the white and the caution comes out, we go into overtime and we have unlimited overtime green-white checkered attempts. Got Justin Durand, third car on that inside line, trying to go coast to coast here at Daytona. David Durand on the outside line with help from Mike Tellier. Big push down the back straightaway, almost got David out of shape, but he will ride that momentum to the race lead on the outside of Ryan Hesgard. Bill Edwards has jumped up to that third lane. Side by side for the race lead. Hesgard in the 2, Durand in the 24. White flag going to be displayed over both of their hoods. We will race back to the checkered flag here under regulation at Daytona. Still, even numbers on top and bottom. Dead even going into turn 1 between the 2 and the 24. Which lane prevails down the back straightaway? Tellier and Sebastian Miller going to have to give the pushes of their lives to each respective lane to try and get the momentum going down the backstretch. David might be clear going into turn 3, and he is. He'll swap from the top to the bottom. Now Mike Tellier with a big push from Bill Edwards. Does he have a shot here through 3 and 4? He's to the right rear quarter panel of David Durand off of turn number 4. Swinging wide, trying to pin down. David Durand's clear though. Hesgard tries the apron. Contact to the line. It was David Durand winning this race by 7/1000ths of a second. The champ goes back to victory lane for the first time since October of last year, and the first time since season 1. David Durand, third career victory here tonight in the Thompson Cat 145. And I'm checking to see, I know there were a couple of drivers that said they were going to hit a certain area of turn 1 when this race was over. And doesn't look like they've got cars up to speed to be able to do so. Looks like we had a wreck there coming to the start-finish line as well. Bronson Stafford, Robert Kenny. Oh, wait a minute. Are we going to hit the spot there while running backwards, perhaps? For those that don't know, there's a jump right here. Are they going to hit it? Yes, they are. Well, not exactly as dramatic a jump as they were probably hoping for, but let's go back and see what even happened there involving those two drivers. I'm assuming there were some other ones collected up in it as well, coming to the checkered flag. Stafford and Kenny. Oh, they were battling for the final spot here, it looks like, coming to the checkered flag. Kenny going to drive down to the apron in turn 4. Stafford goes to throw the block. The two of them make contact, and Stafford's going to take a big hit into the inside wall. So now let's actually go back and look at the battle for the win, coming back to the start-finish line, because Ryan Hesgard, I thought, was out of it. And more the fool me, forgetting that there is no out of bounds here, that you can use the apron. Ryan Hesgard obviously remembered it. We got the 24 a little loose there. Out of turn number 4, rattled his cage. Peeks the nose to the inside. David Durand not realizing it, and look at that. That was close to the line. And Matthew Rodriguez enters from stage left. I think he went down pit road or into the infield grass to the 57. Didn't gain him much. He finishes the race in 9th. But let's go back and take another look at that photo finish. Watch the 57 there. Dart to the inside infield grass. Don't know if you'll see it in this shot, but look at this. Look at this to the line. Woo-wee, that's close. Did that beat our record? I'm going to have to double check. Can't recall what our closest finish was. It was this year. See if I can find it. want to say it was 4/1000ths of a second. Closest finish coming into tonight, and yes, indeed it was. That was Mike Telly over Ryan Potter back at Talladega. So this race, I believe, would be second closest finish in the history of the UpperEdge Racing Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. Here's the official finishing results for this evening's event. Ryan Hesgard almost picking up career win number 2, but David Durand in turn gets career win number 3, ends that long winless streak. Mike Tellier is going to have himself a pretty good points day here tonight, finishing in 3rd. Sebastian Miller will bring it home 4th, and Bill Edwards going to complete the top 5. Justin Durand, the pole sitter, brings it home with a 6th place run, led the most laps of his career here tonight. Joey Chapman will finish in 7th. Dylan Body, who spent the first half of this race a lap down with some pretty extensive damage, he'll finish inside the top 10 in 8th. Matthew Rodriguez in 9th, and Jason Shuey is going to complete the top 10. Ty Smith brings it home in 11th. Connor Holden in his debut will be 12th. Then Bronson Stafford, Robert Kenny saw the contact and the race to the line, if you want to call that a race. 13th goes to Stafford and 14th goes to Kenny. Both of those drivers going to take a bit of a hit in the point standings in terms of ground lost to the rest of their competition. They should still remain 1st and 2nd in points nonetheless. Well, let's take a look and see if we can talk with our podium finishers here tonight. Certainly a nail-biter down to the line in this one. And only 62/1000ths of a second separated those podium finishers. Let's see if we can get a guy that brought it home in the 3rd position here tonight. So close to picking up his 2nd win of the season. Let's talk with Mike Tellier. Hey, Mike, Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
Hey, buddy, I do.
Well, man, I'll tell you what. Came into this race 112 points out. Really needed to have the top 2, have a bad run here tonight, have yourself have a good run. That all kind of seemed like the stars aligned here tonight. I mean, so close to picking up your 2nd win of the season here as well. Talk about that final run there to the checkers, because a lot seemed to happen in the final 2.5 miles.
Yeah, I don't know if David was like backing up to me to like get a good run down the backstretch, but I pushed him as hard as I could, and it felt like we lost a lot of ground. And then coming to the last lap, it was like all of a sudden all that ground we lost like is gone, and we're right beside the leader. And I gave him as good of a push as I could down the backstretch. And once he got clear, I was hoping I could get some help from the old guy Bill Edwards behind me, and it seemed like it was going to work. But I think I just pinched too hard, and we couldn't stay together. So that's on me. I feel like I threw that one away. Congrats to David for the win, though. That was awesome. It's been a while since he's been in victory lane.
Saw a little bit of everything here tonight. A couple of drivers having to kind of do some early strategizing on whether to use the faster pair or not with that early yellow flag. But we even saw round of green flag pit stops take place. But typical super speedway racing comes down to those late race restarts and the late race strategy of whether or not to take on the faster pair, just in case we might go into overtime. We obviously saw that you end up taking on your faster pair with about 15 laps to go. I mean, it seemed like the closer we got to that checkered flag, the aggressiveness amped up. So was there any second guessing of, did I take that faster pair on too early?
Well, I want to apologize to Joey because Joey had damage, and when that green flag cycle happened, we told him to use his faster pair, and then I dumped him. I made a terrible move a little bit too soon, and I got him a little bit and got him loose at a 2 and ruined his race. So I'm sorry, Joey. I'm glad it wasn't too bad. But no, it's always a gamble on when to use your faster pair. Like I feel like if we wouldn't have told Joey to do that, he'd be up there with me having a like I don't know where he finished, like 6th or 7th. So, but instead he could be here interviewing you or with you instead of me. But yeah, it's always a gamble. I was lucky and got to save mine till I think Matt Rod landed on my car with, like you said, like 10 laps to go or something like that. Always a gamble. Always a gamble. Always aggressive driving. It's fun. Tonight was really fun.
Certainly looked fun for sure. We saw some good 3-wide racing several rows deep. We normally don't see that at Daytona, with it being a little bit narrower than the wider, spacious Talladega, and of course, iRacing Superspeedway. Mike, you've always seemed to have in this series a flair for the dramatic. Obviously, you were involved on the winning end of the closest finish in this series history. I remember all the way back to season one, the penultimate race. You went to victory lane and had yourself as a long shot to win the championship. Longer schedule here this season. Tonight marks the first race of the second half, and this is where drivers really start to make that charge towards the championship. I mentioned the fact here tonight, Bronson Stafford, Robert Kenny, they've been the kind of focus point last few weeks with their victories up there top two in the point standings. But now, with this good run here tonight, raking in some really important points, is this the turning point for the 97 to say, hey, I'm going to be in that championship conversation as well?
Well, as much as I like working with Bronson, when it comes down to the white flag, if he's in front of me, I'm pretty sure he's not going to finish there. Whether I move out of line and pass him, or something else conveniently happens, it's every man for himself at this point. He's got such a huge point lead. I mean, hopefully, me and Kenny can catch him. We're going to be Stuka waving the rest of the season. We're going to try and close the gap. We'll see what happens. It's unfortunate Kenny had a bad finish tonight. I know he's in front of me in points, but man, Bronson has had such like a perfect season. It's about time he has some bad luck.
Yeah, we documented about that new livery you had your night. We're dubbing you the Stuka Squadron for the rest of the year when you run those liveries, I think. But obviously, great run for you here tonight. As mentioned, bringing in some really good points. Going to close up that points gap heading into iRacing Superspeedway in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously, going to, I think, be glad to put Daytona in the rearview mirror for a couple of weeks, I think, as well. You guys have been at this track in different ways for the last few weeks. But, Mike, obviously, a great run for you here tonight. You know what's going to happen. We're turning the mic over to you. Going to let you do some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Oh, of course, you guys. Of course, you're the primary sponsor on almost every car I get to race in every league I run in, so I appreciate it for that. Sky Motorsports, we have a great team of guys. We always seem to work together and normally do decently. UpperEdge Racing for this wonderful series. Matt Rod for everything he does. My kids. I know they don't ever watch these things, but maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Well, Mike Tellier going to be P3 here tonight under the lights at Daytona and the Thompson Cat 145. But congratulations once again, Mike. Enjoy your Easter weekend, and looking forward to seeing it right back at in 2 weeks' time at iRacing Superspeedway.
Yeah, thanks, Seth.
All right, let's see if we can get second place finisher here tonight, Ryan Hesgard. Hey, Ryan, Seth up here in the FRN studios. You got me?
I got you.
Man, it's been a while since we've seen you here in this series, but obviously no stranger to this racetrack. We saw you take a checkered flag here back in the Season 2 season opener. Looked like you almost picked up right where you left off, so close to capturing your second checkered flag of this series. What little more did you need to be able to get him at the start-finish line? Because I had even forgotten about the fact that that double yellow line rule wasn't in effect and thought at the time that you were kind of boxed in. You almost got him there at the start-finish line, though.
The only thing I really needed was when we were coming off of 4, I had a really good push from Sebastian. And like as soon as that surge came, the 24 got down, right in front of me. Had I not lifted, he would have been in the wall. So I burped the throttle a little bit, and that was the difference. I burped it. I got that second run coming to the checker. Had it been Talladega, there's no question I would have passed him. But, it's not Talladega. So, there wasn't a whole lot more I could have done coming off of 4, without wrecking him. So, kudos to him. He made that move at the exact right time. That last caution really hindered us because Bill and I got separated. Had I had, Bill on me, maybe it would have been a little bit different. If I had been pushing Bill, we can be a little bit more aggressive with each other than we can with the rest of the guys. But I don't know. All in all, I can't complain. Taking 7 weeks to be able to get back. And coming in P2 by the smallest of margins, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, marks the second closest finish in the history of this series. One thing that's kind of an unsung hero into race finishes, race wins that we don't document enough, I don't think, especially with the late race restarts, is the choose cone rule. I want to pick your brain though, because going back to that last restart, we saw back in that race that you won back in season 2, and even here tonight, you and the 50 of Bill Edwards seem to really work together a lot. Saw you choose the top side there on that final restart, and Edwards actually chose the inside line, so you guys were actually kitty corner to each other rather than nose to tail. So what led to that strategy of line up on the outside line rather than being lined up nose to tail with a fellow Camaro?
Well, Sebastian made a really late uh, move to pick that bottom line. The way it looked was he was going to take the top side. Had it been that way, the plan was for Bill to do whatever opposite of what Sebastian did. But because Sebastian made such a late move, he didn't get that opportunity. So, I mean, either way, it worked to a point. I told Bill, once we get going, I said, lay off of Sebastian, get a run, get on that outside, and the outside lane was coming, and then we had that late caution, and it took him out. So, hindsight's 2020. Had it meant none of that happened, I don't know what the finish would have been, but I know Bill and I would have been together, which is definitely in our favor at these tracks. So, that was the strategy, was to take the top lane. Hopefully Sebastian was going to take the top lane with me. Bill was going to take the bottom lane. I'd be able to get down in front of Bill. But just didn't work out that way. So, it's what it is.
Well, Ryan, gave it a heck of a try there at the end. Congratulations on the great finish here. Nice to see you back in the race car. P2 here tonight under the lights at Daytona, and now we'll give you the opportunity to do some thank yous and shout out some sponsors.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'll thank UpperEdge Racing for even allowing me to hold my spot in the league. My work schedule and stuff like that has changed here in the last few weeks, so able to get back in the sim. Big thank you to you guys for the broadcast. You guys put on one heck of a show, and S2R, for the amount of time that I have been off, Bill's been holding it down. The boys have been, they're getting their names out there. They're doing well, so kudos to them. And then last but not least, always thank my mom for watching these things. So, other than that, I really appreciate what you guys do with the broadcast. So, big thank you to you guys.
Well, Ryan Hesgard makes a great return to the series. P2 here tonight in the Thompson Cat 145 at Daytona. Congratulations once again, Ryan, and hopefully we see you running here a number more races down the home stretch of this season.
Oh, I'll be back.
And let's now talk to the guy who picks up his first victory of the season. 7/1000ths of a second over the guy we just talked to, Ryan Hesgard. Let's talk with the former champion, David Durand. Hey, David, Seth up here in the FRN studios. You got me?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Well, man, I'll tell you what. First off, can't believe that it has been this long since we've seen you be able to park that 24 in victory lane. But even more so, can't believe it's been that long since I've been able to actually talk to you. Last time that we saw you finish in the podium was all the way back in October of last year. So how good, first off, is it to get that monkey off your back? As we've seen you so close so many times during the course of the last season and a half. You finally get it done here tonight.
At first, it feels great. Finally, get a podium finish and even a victory is more important. But there's a lot of bad luck. That's just what's happened this last season and a half. Choosing faster pairs at the wrong time kind of hurt too, and you anticipate something's going to happen prior to the white flag or anything like that. So that's just been a lot of bad luck, wrong place, wrong time type of stuff this past season and a half.
Now, I remember back in your championship season in season 1, early portion of the year, Austin Grover was getting the consistent finishes and he was leading the point stands. But then it was the second half of the season where you really started to shine. You found victory lane twice. You won that championship in the finale. We're now only halfway through the season. Tonight marked the first race of the second half. Still plenty of racing left to go. Is this the first step for you getting back into that championship picture and trying to be a 2-time champion by the time we get to iRacing Superspeedway?
I certainly hope so. You said it right there. It's just being consistent finishes, and that's what we're going to have to do to maybe give ourselves a chance in the championship four. So that's the goal. Just try to stay out of trouble and go from there. That's our goal right now. Is just trying to at least get top 5 finishes every week and just keep ourselves in the point standings. And who knows? There's, like I said, there's a lot of racing left, so anything can happen these next 5-6 races.
Obviously, we saw a big night here tonight for yourself and your brother Justin. Justin getting the pole. You started on the front row with him. You closed it out with the victory. Obviously, we've been seeing how the both of you have been getting better and better as drafting partners. It kind of seems like as well here tonight, you picked up a lot of drafting partners as well. So is that kind of helping you also in being able to be up at the front more often? And obviously here tonight, close out the deal with a victory, picking up more allies, realizing the speed that these two Chevrolets have week after week?
Oh, I hope we have more allies. I mean, it just no one wants to really work with us, myself and the 29, which we don't really know why. Because the two of us together, we generate some speed and we make some pretty good runs. But I mean, I hope so. If not, it's not a big deal. I'm pretty sure Justin and I could find a way ourselves to manage to get up there. Surprisingly, we had 1-2 front row and just go from there. So we're hoping to get more allies. If not, it's not a big deal. We just don't really worry about that too much. We run our own race and do what we need to do to try to stay out of trouble and have a chance for the win when it all in the end.
Well, as mentioned, that long winless streak, nice to see you back in victory lane. Kind of seems appropriate that the place where you took your last checkered flag is the place where you get the checkered flag here tonight, here at the current version of Daytona. David, we're now going to hand the mic over to you. It's time to do some victory lane thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
I'd just like to thank you, Seth. You guys run a great broadcast and up every week, so I'm happy that you guys keep doing that. Just thank Radius Racing for giving me the chance to race, and Justin just running with us all season long, and we'll try to keep that up. So that's it right there.
Well, the 24 is back in victory lane in a Baadteshop Superspeedway Series race tonight. The Thompson Cat 145 belongs to David Durand. Congratulations once again. Go and enjoy that victory, and obviously as well, enjoy your Easter weekend. Looking forward to seeing you back here in 2 weeks' time.
That's right, you too, Seth.
And that's going to conclude our coverage here tonight. What a nail-biter to start off the second half of the season, and it's really going to be interesting to see what the point scenario is heading into iRacing Superspeedway in a couple weeks' time as well, off the heels of the Easter weekend, the Easter off week. With Mike Taylor getting a great performance here tonight, David Durand going to get some big points with the victory, and Bronson Stafford, Robert Kenny, two-time winners inside of the top 2 in points coming into this race, outside of the top 10 in the finishing results. Going to be a lot of moving and shaking, I believe, and I don't think that that's going to end anytime soon. We're going to see a lot of moving parts from now until we get to that championship weekend at iRacing Superspeedway. But we thank you all for joining us here on this Sunday night. David Durand, your victor here tonight in the Thompson Cat 145. Once again, we will be off next week. Enjoy your Easter weekend. Then it's going to be on the 24th of April where we will be back at it. These drivers will take to iRacing Superspeedway to continue on the second half of the season, chasing towards that championship. Until then, I've been Seth Cole. Thanks for joining us once again. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time as you've been watching yet another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.